Hello friends, in the last video we have seen the introductory part of the story of Heroine of the Sea. In this part we have seen the geographical condition of England, the seashores, the sea rocks, ships and the coastal area of England, the lighthouses on the coast in England. Then we saw the Grace's family, the education of the family, their living standards, their living place, and the family members. In the next video and the in the last paragraph, we have seen the stormy condition or a big storm occurred on September 6th, 1838. And what happens next, we will see in the next paragraphs. Now see the next paragraph on page number 46. She did not know that a terrible thing was happening that night. That night, a ship was wrecked upon the rocks. Grace and her parents did not hear the sound of the crash. The noise of the wind and waves was too loud. They could not hear anything else. But a ship called Forfarshire had hit the rock a mile away from the lighthouse. Most of the passengers were drowned, but 9 men and women were able to climb on the rock. The wind nearly blew them into the sea as they clung to the bare rock. In the distance, they saw the warm light of the lighthouse. But of course, their shouts and screams were not heard. All night they clung them there in the storm. Next morning at 6 o'clock, Grace was dressing. She looked out of her window and saw the storm was still blowing. Suddenly she stopped. Wasn't there something on the distant rock? Calling her father, she looked again. Yes, there were certainly people clinging on the rocks, but they were half under the sea. We must rescue them before they are drowned, cried Grace. We must do something. Will you ever sleep again, father, if they die? William Darling was a brave old man, but he shook his head. It is hopeless, he said. We can do nothing. How can I row a boat by myself through these waves? If only I had another man here to help me. I can help you, father, cried Grace. I can row a boat as well as any man. Can't I? I am small, but I am strong. You and I have often rowed together. We can reach those unfortunate people. This part we will see today. See, on that night, the boat wrecked or the boat collided on the rock and the boat was wrecked. It was broken into pieces and few of the people on the boat were drowned and only the 9 men and women were saved. They cling to the rock nearby. But in that night, the Darling family could not hear the screams or shouts of those people, because as it was very strong storm, the wind was blowing strongly, so they could not hear the sound of the people. That ship, Forfarshire ship, had hit the rock, and it was the accident was taken place at a mile away from their lighthouse. Most of the passengers were drowned and 9 of them were saved. They climbed on the rock, but the strong storm, the strong wind blew them again into the sea, and when they were falling into the sea, they cling to the rock. whole night they were there clinging tightly to the rock. Half of their bodies were in the sea and half of their bodies were upon the sea, out of the sea. They shouted, screamed, but they could not, their sound could not reach to the Grace's family. Next morning, when Grace Darling woke up at 6 o'clock, as she was dressing herself, when she looked out of the window, she could see something there in the sea. She watched it minutely. She watched it keenly, and she saw something had happened there. She suddenly stopped and she called her father, and she again showed her father that situation. Yes, there was certainly people clinging on the rocks, but they were half under the sea. We must rescue them, cried Grace to her father. Otherwise, they would drown. But and she again asked her father, will he sleep happily or silently if the people died in front of their eyes? Her father shook her head. William Darling was brave. William Darling was a brave old man, but he shook his head. He said, "It is hopeless to save them. It is not useful. It is not possible to save them because it was so strong storm, and that storm would drown the William Darling too, as he only if tried to save those people." Then he asked for help. There is no one to help him, so I can't go to the ship, he said. Then Grace said that, "I can help you, father," cried Grace. "I can row a boat as well as any man, can't I?" And she was a small girl, but she was brave, she was strong, and she remembered her father that they have together rowed boat for many times, and they can reach those unfortunate people too. The next paragraph we will see in the next video. Thank you.